Thank you everyone for joining today for the webinar on how to improve your broken picker. Please stay on until the end because I'm going to be announcing a special offer and a discount coupon that's going to expire in a few days. You don't want to miss that. And there's also a free gift that I'm going to be sharing at the end for those of you who are here with me live. So let's get started. Welcome to the Broken Picker Masterclass. I'm going to begin with a story about a broken picker. And it's a true story. It's about a client of mine. Her name is Kara, and her story was featured in my book, Love at Last. If you've read the book, let me know. And you might have already read her story, but I'm going to tell it anyway because it's such a good story. So when Kara first hired me, she called herself an ice cube who had to thaw out a little bit. And that was an understatement because she wanted to find love, but she was having a lot of trouble with her dating life after her divorce. She was not attracted to any of the guys that she dated, and her favorite word after a first date was next, first dates only, one and done. So one of the first things I taught her was to stop expecting sparks on the first date. She was walking around thinking there's going to be fireworks, I'm going to feel it, I'm going to know it. Butterflies. And I told her that butterflies are usually not a good sign. They're usually bad news. And if there are no red flags and you enjoy this person's company, I want you to keep dating to see if a connection grows. So her first date with CJ was okay, like most of her first dates. And as usual, she didn't feel sparks. And I said, that's perfect. Perfectly good first date. Go on a second date. But she was still looking for the sparks, and she was going to end things right after that date. But CJ was a smart guy. He played a little game with her, and she was a type A woman. She was up for the challenge. And he said, guess what CJ stands for? And if you can't guess, you have to go on a second date with me. It was kind of like Rumpelstiltskin, where you had to guess his name. So she played the game, and she's guessing all these names. Cameron James, nope. Charles Jack, nope. Finally, she gives up. And even though she isn't that excited about dating him again, she made that promise. She couldn't break it. She had to go out with him again. On the second date, she suggested that they go to a concert because I told her if she wants to feel some sparks and form a deeper connection, she should do something more fun and exciting than what people generally do, which is dinner, coffee. So they were going to a concert, and he wanted her to drive to his house and take an Uber with him. She said, no way. She wanted to have her escape vehicle. So she met him there. And while they were sitting at the concert, he reached over to hold her hand, and she immediately pulled it away. And he asked her, are you looking for a relationship? I mean, she was acting like she didn't want to touch her. And she thought, my God, we're only on a second date and he's trying to hold my hand like we're a couple. He's trying to talk to me about relationships. What's wrong with this guy? So you can get an idea about how this woman's pricker was pretty broken. After the concert, she felt bad that he had to take an Uber home. So she drove him, and then he invited her in, and she sped off so fast that they later joked that you could still see the tire tracks in front of his house. She called her mom the next day and she said, I'm not going out with him again. He's acting like we're a couple. He's moving too fast. And her mom said, so just tell him he's moving too fast. And Kara said, oh, whatever, fine, I'll go on a second date. The next day she told him, I've been through a tough divorce. I'm just starting to date again, so I need to move pretty slowly. I understand, he said, anything worth having takes time and hard work. And she thought, that is such a cheesy line. He probably uses it on all the women he dates. But she also kind of liked that he wasn't pressuring her. So the ice cube started to melt a little bit. She agreed to a third date, and then he asked her for a fourth date. 4 dates. That was a record for her. She said yes. CJ noticed that she had been really busy at work, and he offered to plan the date. She wouldn't have to do anything, and the ice cube melted a little bit more. He made dinner reservations at a nice Italian restaurant, and before he picked her up, He asked her what was her favorite flower, and she thought, great, he's going to show up with a dozen roses because my favorite flowers are roses. How predictable. She's like rolling her eyes. But CJ surprises her with cute little cupcakes in a tin that had little roses on top. He said, I didn't want you to freak out if I bought you a bouquet of roses, so I got you this. And the ice cube melted a little bit more. On the way to the date, he says, can I hold your hand, or are you going to try to jump out of my car? So Kara was laughing. She holds his hand. She really appreciated all the effort he was making. After a delicious dinner and a few glasses of wine, he walks her to his car and they kiss for the first time. And whatever was left of the ice cube inside of her melted away. After that, she was all in. And I'm so excited to announce that Kara and CJ got married last September, and I was the officiant at their wedding. I became an officiant just for this wedding because it was so exciting to come full circle with this couple. So as you can see, this wedding would never have happened if Kara hadn't stopped looking for fireworks on a first or second date, and she finally repaired her broken picker. So any thoughts? Anybody relate to looking for sparks? Anybody can relate to just writing somebody off on a first date or a first phone call and just like forget it, not even giving that person a chance? Let me know in the comments. I'll take a quick drink. So I love Kara's story because it really illustrates how just making those little tweaks can make such a big difference. One of the most important decisions of our life is who we choose as a partner. Picking somebody that brings out the best in us and adds a sense of joy and ease to our life is essential to our emotional and physical well-being. And that's not all. Healthy partnerships can help strengthen our immune system, and they can even increase our life expectancy. The right partner helps us feel connected, understood, appreciated, respected, and cared for. And who doesn't want that? And Ruth says, the last guy I gave a second chance became obsessive about me. So scary. Well, sometimes it does go wrong, but so let's talk about the wrong partner. You probably are very familiar with the negative impact of being in the wrong relationship. A toxic relationship can severely impact our mental and physical health. It can lead to lower self-esteem, anxiety, depression, even substance abuse. A bad relationship can also negatively impact our future relationships and our overall well-being. We approach relationships with fear in the future. When we're in the wrong relationship, we can experience feeling alone. I mean, I remember at the end of my marriage, I felt more alone than when I was alone. There's poor communication. There are often trust issues. Can be emotional manipulation and a general sense of unhappiness or lack of fulfillment. The wrong partner could never meet your needs, but so many of us try and try to make a relationship work, sometimes for decades. Why do we do this? The answer is our picker is broken. So how do we choose the right partner? Well, it begins with fixing our picker. And that's why I created this masterclass. You're going to learn all about broken pickers, what they are, how they broke, and how we can begin to heal so we can go on our first date. Why do so many of us choose the wrong partners? It's because we have what I like to call broken picker syndrome. We are not born with a broken picker. We choose the wrong partners for a variety of reasons. Most of us never learned the important traits to search for in a partner. Our parents didn't model healthy relationship skills. Even if we came from a loving family, we may not have learned how to resolve conflicts, how to communicate effectively. We don't learn relationship skills in school, and relationships do require skills to be successful. We choose partners due to a lack of knowledge, from a place of fear, scarcity, and sometimes insecurity. We often rely on our friends' opinions about the partner and who's good for us, rather than relying on our own inner wisdom in regard to what we really want and need in a relationship. So, what causes our pickers to break? And I just want to check the comments. My biggest fear coming out of a narcissistic ex. Yep, that can definitely make you very afraid, Ruth. So thanks for sharing. There are many reasons. I'm going to share the top 6 reasons that we have broken pickers. And as I read these and tell you these, I want you to post the numbers of the ones that resonate most for you. Number 1, and just post the number. It could be a combination of numbers or just one. 1, you keep dating your type because you feel chemistry. Number 2, you fall in love easily and end up getting your heart broken. So you attach really quickly. Number 3, you tend to minimize important red flags until it's too late and you keep getting hurt. Number 4, you tend to date people who are unavailable in some way, whether they're emotionally unavailable, whether they live really far away and you can't really see them, long distance, all types of unavailability. Number 5, you're not sure if your standards are too low or unrealistically high. And number 6, outside of a relationship, you feel confident, but as soon as you meet somebody you like, you tend to lose yourself and feel anxious. So I'm going to repeat them. 1, you keep dating your type because you feel that instant chemistry. 2, you fall in love easily, get your heart broken. 3, you minimize important red flags till it's too late. 4, you date people who are unavailable. 5, you don't know if you have standards that are too low or unrealistically high. And number 6, you feel confident when you're not in a relationship, but when you meet somebody you're attracted to and you like, you begin to lose yourself and become anxious. So we have 3, 4, we have all 6, we have 3, 4, 5, 3, 4. Got a bunch of numbers here. Thank you, everybody, for sharing your numbers. So if you said yes to any of these, your picker's probably broken. And I want to be clear that you are not broken. Your picker is. And that's why you date people who can never offer you what you want and need, which is a healthy long-term partnership. Why do we repeat these patterns? Well, there are several reasons. And one of the most common is that modern dating with dating apps can be exhausting. It can be disappointing. After going on boring coffee date after boring coffee date or getting ghosted again and again, it's easy to feel hopeless about finding the right partner. So when we meet somebody who's attractive and there's some level of connection, we often overlook the warning signs that this person might not be right for us, especially if we're intimate quickly. The bonding hormones kick in and our logical brains get pretty fuzzy. Has this ever happened to you? Let me know in the comments. I know it's happened to me. It's so easy when you've been going out on boring dates. Like all of a sudden you meet somebody you connect with and you want to sleep with them pretty quickly because you're attracted and you haven't been with anybody in a long time, and then you can't think straight. We got some yeses. And maybe you don't believe the right person exists, so you settle. Let me know if that's your belief. We have my standard was too high from Lisa. I've lost trust in dating apps. Too many scammers, says Ruth. Yes, says Jennifer. All right, maybe you don't believe you deserve better, so you settle. Is that your belief? We have combination. I'm here to tell you that you deserve a wonderful match and the right partner is out there. But when you're dating the wrong person, you can't always tell they're wrong for you until you have been with them for a little while. Some people start out giving you lots of attention and affection, and then they become more distant as time passes. Or you notice some red flags, but you minimize them or dismiss them. No, they're not so bad. Everybody has faults. I remember when my son was dating somebody where the red flags were like just banging all over his face. And he said, "Oh, everybody has faults." And I'm like, "No, these are really red flags. These are really, really bad." And he didn't see it until after his heart was broken, after she just kept going in and out of the relationship. It was so painful to watch, but he had to go through it, as many of us do. That's sometimes how we learn our lessons again and again, because red flags are not just like little faults that people have. We all have our weaknesses, our faults, but these are signs that this person is not good for you. And we all have to know, what are our red flags? What's our kryptonite? I like to call it kryptonite because we tend to get attracted to a certain type of person who pulls us in every time. I remember a woman who said she always was attracted to narcissists. And even though she broke the attraction in that she married a guy who was wonderful, she said, "I still will walk into a room and go right for the narcissist because they're interesting. They have charm and character and they're interesting, but they're not good for you. So you can have a conversation with them, but don't date them." Have you ever had a friend who tried to warn you that the person you were dating was bad for you, but you would not admit it? You pushed them away. Maybe you didn't even recognize it. This happens all the time. And then when the relationship finally ends, you feel blindsided and heartbroken. That's what dating with a broken picker is like. And I don't want you to date with a broken picker anymore. So, first of all, please be kind to yourself. You did the best you could with the knowledge you had, and knowledge is power. With the right type of inner work and skills, you can fix your broken picker and find the right partner. The hard thing about having a broken picker is it keeps you stuck with people who can never truly fulfill your needs. For whatever reason, this person cannot be a long-term match. And you probably had real, honest feelings for this person. They had some positive qualities, or you wouldn't have been attracted to them or dated them in the first place. But they were not compatible in the long run. And people have to be more than attractive and have some good qualities. They have to show up for you in a crisis. They have to be there. They have to want you to be the best you can be. And we'll talk a little bit more later about some of the green flags that we need to look for. So for now, let's discuss why our pickers break. And I'm going to share the top 5 reasons. And I want, again, to see your numbers. So as you listen, put the number in the chat that you relate to most. Number 1, you have red flag blindness. Those red flags that indicate that somebody you're dating is bad news for you, like they tell you they're not ready for a relationship, or they don't have a lot of time to date right now, or they're inconsistent, they blow hot and cold, or they take a long time to text you or call you back, or they date you very infrequently. People with broken pickers tend to have red flag blindness. We ignore or dismiss these kinds of red flags, and we hope that with time, everything's just going to work out fine. Why do we do this? Or somebody says, "I'm not ready for a relationship," and we think, "Oh, what? They haven't met me yet." They once they get to know me, they're going to fall in love with me. Well, people are honest usually when they say that they're not ready for a relationship or they're not looking for anything serious. Believe people, right? So why do we ignore these comments? Why do we ignore this behavior? The first reason is scarcity. When we believe that there aren't enough good people out there to date, and this is the best it gets, then we date with a scarcity mindset, which can lead to dismissing red flags and staying too long with the wrong partner. Anybody ever do that? I definitely have thought, well, this is as good as it gets. I mean, that's why I married my husband. The second reason is attraction. When you meet somebody and the chemistry is off the charts, your body releases feel-good hormones like oxytocin and serotonin. Those are the ones that also make your head fuzzy. You think you're in love, but it's lust because you can't be in love when you first meet somebody. It takes time. That feeling that you're soulmates, like 3 weeks into the relationship. And no matter what those little so-called glitches are, like they're a workaholic, they're controlling, they're still in love with their ex, they're separated, they don't have any plans to divorce, they're in financial trouble. These little glitches, you're going to somehow work things out because they're your soulmates. You're meant to be together. And when the relationship crashes and burns, you realize the signs were there all along. You just couldn't see them at the time because you were really blinded by those hormones. Anyone here ever do that and have red flag blindness? Put a number 1 in the chat. There was a woman that I spoke to recently who was dating somebody who was emotionally unavailable. He was long distance. He told her from the beginning that he was not in a good place for a relationship, but they had a really nice connection. And she believed that this was it for her, even though there were so many signs that this was not it, that he was not in the right place. He wasn't a bad person. He was just not in a good place to be in a relationship, and he could never be for her what she needed from him. And so it was heartbreaking, but she's finally moving on. So we have a couple of number 1s. Thank you for sharing the red flag blindness. There's also the opposite, by the way. There are people who look for red flags when there aren't any, like Kara used to. So, if you've ever looked for a red flag when there actually were not red flags, that's also a problem. So number 2, this is the second type of reason why our pickers break, is you're a fixer. You thrive on taking care of other people. So let me know if this is you. Are you a fixer in relationships? And maybe you see a partner as a project. I have a client who used to always see people as projects, and she would try to fix them, and then they'd become unattractive to her because she was working so hard. So you meet somebody who's going through a struggle, whether emotionally, financially, or otherwise, and you take it upon yourself to be the savior, to fix their problems because you're a kind person, and that's lovely. But while it is wonderful and essential to care for your partner, it's all about balance. In a healthy relationship, 2 people care for each other, but they don't take care of each other. If somebody gets sick, that's another story. If you've been in a long-term relationship, but we're talking at the beginning of a relationship when you're just getting to know somebody, you should not feel responsible for their messes. There's a big difference between caring for somebody and taking care and making it your problem. People with broken pickers believe they need to take care of their partners. Your partner's out of work, you work 2 jobs. You support them because they have potential and you're just waiting for them to find that job, but they never get off the couch. Why do we do this? Well, there are many reasons, but often it's because we grow up in a home where we are responsible for either ourselves because our parents aren't really there for us, or we're responsible for them because they parentify us and share emotionally with us at a young age, which is not appropriate, or maybe we were responsible for siblings' care. We might unconsciously choose a partner with a victim mentality who's also an emotional manipulator. These types of people need somebody to constantly pay attention to them and take care of them, which is exhausting and unhealthy for both of you. So if you are a fixer and any of this resonates, put number 2 in the chat. We have some guilty comments here. Yeah, so there's a difference between an empath and a person who's codependent. Being empathic is lovely when you're so empathic that you take on the responsibility of somebody else, then you've gone too far. So this has been a topic of discussion for me with my daughter recently because she's dating somebody who she says is an empath, and his ex-girlfriend came to town and she was feeling really sad. And so he felt bad. So he went over to take care of her. And I said, yeah, that's a boundary issue. They're supposedly broken up, and he keeps going over there and feeling responsible for her when they're not together anymore and he's with you. So you need to be able to draw the line with people, and that's a whole boundary crossing. I'm a big believer in boundaries and good communication. All right, so number 3, you have a romanticized idea of love. And this is so common. I mean, we can't really help ourselves, but popular culture, including movies, TV shows, books, music, they all perpetuate this romanticized notion of love. They paint love as dramatic and fairy tale-like. So it is easy to believe that a good relationship starts with that instant chemistry and big romantic gestures, riding off into the sunset with your dream partner. Think about shows like The Bachelor with dates and hot air balloons, and they end with a band playing while the couple slow dances and there's fireworks going off in the background. This is not love. It is attraction, it is lust, it's a fantasy, and it cannot be sustained. Love takes time. For the person whose picker is broken, it is hard to resist big romantic gestures and sweet words of affirmation that are often love bombing. They're empty, they can be manipulative, and this leads to relationships that don't last. So if you are a romanticizer and believe in the fairy tale of love and have let that guide you in the past, put a number 3 in the chat. And I think that when we're younger, we certainly believe this fairy tale version, but a lot of us still do as we're older. Yep, Laura says 3. It's hard not to with everything that's out there. We also are fed the idea in these fairy tales that it's those meet cutes, we meet each other and it's meant to be. Or we also have these really bad dynamics that we see on TV is the avoidant, the person who plays games, and then suddenly it works. These are all bad messages that we receive that are leading us in the wrong direction. Ruth says note to 3. Okay. Number 4. Everybody ready for number 4? I'm going to take a drink. Number 4 is you have difficulty expressing your feelings and needs. And this is one of the most common because most of us don't know how to really be clear and confident in our communication. And I see this so often with people on dating apps. People they're not direct. They start a conversation, they end a conversation in the middle of a conversation. They say they're going to call, they don't call. So do you avoid expressing your fears or your desires when you're dating somebody? Do you avoid having difficult conversations, worried that if you do, the person you're dating is going to leave? Do you push off having conversations about what you're looking for in a partner until you've been dating them for a long time? Do you stuff your emotions when your feelings are hurt because you're afraid people will think you're needy? This is one of the most common. Do you tend to play it cool when you're dating, but your stomach hurts with all the things you're suppressing that you wish you could say? If you have difficulty expressing your feelings and needs, put a number 4 in the chat. And we have some here. Jennifer. I mean, it's, you start a conversation with somebody on a dating app and people are not asking for what they want. I had somebody text me, I'm really impressed by whatever I wrote in my profile. They're not asking a question. They're not saying, I'd like to talk to you. They go, well, that's really cool that you wrote that. Okay, thank you. Where do we go from there? We can't even get a conversation started, let alone bring up hard things. I mean, I remember that many years ago when I wanted to date somebody exclusively and he hadn't asked me yet, and I realized I was ready. So I talked to him about it. a lot of people will put that conversation off for a long time because they're afraid that the person isn't on the same page. And I was ready to say what I had to say, and he happened to be on the same page, but it could have been that he wasn't, and I was okay with that. So you have to have the confidence and the ability to be able to speak up. Um, Meredith says, I don't like to feel I'm managing someone. Right. So you are asserting yourself. You're not managing people. And I'm glad you have a reframe and own your space. Yes. Okay. Ready for number 5. This is the final one. You unconsciously choose partners who remind you of one of your parents. And this was a shock to me when I first started doing this work because I didn't know that we tend to pick partners and attach to them because of one of our parents, because of the relationship we had with one of our parents. That's how we get our attachment style. So we pick partners who are familiar to us. In other words, we partner with people who remind us of our family of origin. The person with a broken picker chooses someone who unconsciously reminds them of their most dysfunctional parent. They believe, and this is all unconscious, we don't see this usually. They believe if they can make the relationship work with the dysfunctional partner, they can fix what was broken in their childhood. So I'll give you an example. Let's say your parent left when you were young. Your parents got divorced or a parent died even. I had a client whose father died when she was pretty young. The mother remarried. She had abandonment issues and she believed every partner would leave. And she didn't understand the connection because her father didn't leave on purpose. So it's this unconsciousness. So what happens when you have an abandonment fear is that you tend to, because of this fear, you can push somebody away because you become anxious that they're going to leave. And again, this is all unconscious, and part of the work that I do with clients is to make the unconscious conscious. We need to understand ourselves and to be an expert in ourselves in order to to have the healthiest relationships, first with ourselves and then with others. Excuse me. So so if anybody has can relate to number 5, unconsciously choosing partners who remind you of one or both of your parents, put number 5 in the chat. So I'm going to review all 5 of these. These are the top 5 traits of somebody with a broken picker. You have red flag blindness. That's number 1. Number 2, you're a fixer. You thrive on taking care of others. Number 3, you're a romanticizer with unrealistic, romanticized ideas of love. Number 4, you have difficulty expressing your feelings and needs, and you wait too long to speak up. And number 5, you unconsciously choose partners who remind you of one or both of your parents. So we have some maybes, 5s, 1, 2, and 5. Thank you, everybody, for adding your numbers. So let's get to the cure. How do we fix it? What is the cure for a broken picker? So we're going to go with the 5 that I just shared. So for number 1, for the red flag blindness, the cure is to learn to recognize red and even yellow flags and address them early on. A lot of people don't know what is a true red flag. And so that's something I help people identify, because if that person, if any concern is raised, you have a question about behavior or something they said, it is really important to bring something up right away. However, there are certain red flags that you walk away without even discussing. And you have to know which ones they are, because everybody has their own that are important to them. You don't want to get intimate with these people because then you're toast, and I don't want that to happen to you. So recognizing red flags, true red flags, bringing up issues early on so you know where you stand and what that person meant, and you don't make assumptions, is key to curing red flag blindness. Number two, if you're a fixer, the cure is to remember that grown adults don't need to be taken care of. We are all creative, resourceful, whole people. And if you're dating somebody who wants to depend on you right away and doesn't have a life of their own and wants a nurse or a purse, as they say, look for somebody who doesn't depend on you for constant validation. Pick up on those signs early on and don't and resist the urge to take care of them, to fix them, to be the savior, because it will not end well. Number three, if you are a romanticizer, the cure is to reframe and redefine what love really is. Loving relationships are not fairy tales. They develop over time through consistent trust, through intention, through effort, through empathy, through understanding. So we also need to know what our must-haves are, what our green flags are. And those things, not everybody gets right either. We think we need certain things, and those are not the most important things. I mean, if you think about your friendships, even, I know that there is one friend that I have right now who I can depend on for anything. She will drop everything for me. If something's going on in my life, she will remember. She will check up on me. She does it with kindness, with grace, and it's a rarity. And she is a dear friend. Most people are so concerned with their own lives that they don't have time for you, for me. I really cherish the people who show up. And that's something that I do in relationships. And I think we should expect the same thing from a partner, but that comes over time. Thank you, Ruth. Loving that I have a friend like that. I love it too. I really, it's amazing. Having really been in past long-term relationships, a red flag. Jennifer wants to know. So if you haven't been in a long-term relationship, I would be concerned that somebody doesn't know how to be in a long-term relationship. Not having been married is very different from not having been in long-term relationships. So if somebody says, I've never been married, I don't think that's a red flag at all. I think we want to know what their relationship skills are, and we want to know, do they have a growth mindset? Are they willing to learn how to communicate better, how to do conflict better? Because so many people just say, I am the way I am, and that's it. What's considered long-term? Good question. A long-term relationship to me is anything over a year, something that's consistent, whether you've lived with somebody or not. But even if you haven't been, the fact that you're willing to do the work, and again, you have to get to know people. I had a podcast conversation today with somebody who does wedding speeches and vows, and he's interviewed hundreds of couples and he's writing a book on what drew them together and what makes a relationship work. And he said one of his favorite stories was a woman who met a guy who, on the surface, he was boring. He wasn't really an interesting person. And he happens to be this great guy. And had she not taken the time to really learn who he was and what his quirks were, and the fact that not only is he a really great guy, but he knew that she liked Ariana Grande. So he memorized all the words to the songs that she liked. And I mean, it's the people who take the care, who really pay attention, not just pay attention till they can get into bed with you, but somebody who pays attention because they care about you and they see you. And so there's so many beautiful stories like that, that I think we have to look for the right qualities in people and not look for the shiny stuff, because it's so easy to look for the shiny and not really pay attention to quality people. So what number are we up to? Number 4, if you were somebody who had difficulty speaking up, the cure is to learn how to know what you're feeling and needing so that you can express yourself clearly, confidently, and kindly. This is something that I've been doing for over 20 years with people, to really break down how to communicate your needs and how to even know what we're feeling. I mean, often we say, I feel like you are behaving badly. That is not a feeling, that's a judgment of your behavior. So to say, I feel sad, I feel upset. I mean, there are people who are afraid to say, I'm angry because anger feels like rage. It feels unsafe because that's something they saw in their family of origin. And so, how can I ever say I'm angry? That I don't want to be angry. Well, we have to express how we feel in order to have an intimate relationship with somebody who actually sees us because we're sharing who we are, what we feel, what we need with each other. And so I love helping people identify and express their emotions. It makes you feel more empowered and it helps you to find a partner who really understands you and meets you where you are because you're communicating who you are in every part of your life. You know, people are afraid of conflict. Why are they afraid of conflict? Because they don't know how to do it. They don't know how to do it with kindness. They don't know how to do it with the intention to get closer to somebody. They just know how to like speak their mind and give you a piece of their mind. That is not how to do conflict well. So this is such an important part of dating, and it often is why we don't have good, healthy relationships. And number five, if you unconsciously choose partners who remind you of one of your partners, the cure is to work with somebody like me. I help my clients identify their attachment style, which is what we form in early childhood, and recognize which of their parents this whole attachment reminds them of. And the solution is to work on healing and becoming more securely attached. And this is not something I can go into in great detail right now, but learning how to securely attach to people takes a lot of skill. And that's how we make our best choices in partners. We don't have to be fully healed or securely attached to get into healthy relationships. But the more secure we are within ourselves, the better the choices are that we make. So, as you can see, our pickers get broken because of how we were raised, the choices we've made along the way. And the good news is there is a cure for our broken pickers, and all it takes is learning some new skills. So, are you ready to fix your broken picker? Let me know in the chat, and then I'll share a little bit more. Yes, says Jennifer and Laura. Great. Sure, says Lisa. So if you enjoyed learning about the broken picker, why it's broken, and you want to fix your broken picker, I have created a special program just for you, and it's called the Fix Your Broken Picker Workshop. And it is happening next Sunday on Zoom, April 6th, from 6 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And here's what you get. There's a guidebook, and you get 5 powerful exercises to complete before the workshop. This will help you to be focused during the workshop, during a 2.5-hour live workshop with me, where I coach you in a small group. And you will learn why your picker's broken so you don't repeat the same mistakes, because this is about you and your picker so you can understand your patterns. You'll learn how to know those red flags early on, your red flags, not somebody else's, but what your red flags are before you become too involved. And this will be a game changer. You will also learn how to create your true must-have list. And it really is important that you do a list that works for you, not for somebody else. Most lists are unrealistic and they keep you from finding the right partner. You will also learn how to discover your attachment style so you date with more confidence and security. And you will get a bonus of scripts for breaking up with the wrong people. So when you realize, okay, this person isn't right for me, how do you end things in a kind, graceful way? And I provide scripts just for that. My clients love my scripts. So I priced it low So it's only, I'm going to open for questions right after I go through this. It's only $247, but I'm also giving a $50 discount to anybody who registers before April 3rd, and that is Thursday. And there's a coupon code. You're going to get all the information in an email that's going to be sent right after this. So the total is only $197. It's a 2.5 hour workshop. It's lower than most things that I have ever taught. And I'm gonna put it in the chat as well if anybody would like to join. I also have a free gift that I'm gonna put the link to. And here's the free gift link. And now I'm going to open for questions. So if you want to ask me anything about broken pickers, about anything we shared, am I going to do it again? If I get enough people, Jennifer, I will do it again, but I am not planning to do it again soon because, yeah, I've got another program coming up. So I'm sorry you'll be away. And Candy's traveling as well. Well, if I don't get enough people for this one, I will definitely do it again. Have I also published a few titles, or is it mostly other podcasts and interviews? I have 3 books and 2 podcasts and 2 YouTube channels. So Love at Last is the book that I spoke about tonight. And that's my latest book that came out in September. This is 18 stories of couples that found love later in life. Then I have Choice Points in Dating. This is a step-by-step guide to the dating process and all the choices we have. And I wrote this a year or 2 before. And this is Becoming a Woman of Value, How to Thrive in Life and Love. And this one is my first book, and it was written because I had gone through all these steps to increase my self-worth and self-esteem, and I wanted to share those steps with other people. So if you look on my website, lastfirstdate.com, you can, there's a tab that says books and courses, and there's some DIY courses, and all of my books are available there as well as on Amazon. They're also available on Audible and Kindle and paperback. And yeah, anybody have any questions that you would want to unmute yourself for or write in the comments?
Sandy?
Yeah. Hey, Laura.
So, I mean, some of these, people, I'll speak for myself. I've worked through them, but you still have lingering, if you're being rigorously honest, you still have some stragglers, shall we say, on some, there might be one that's worse than another one, but there's kind of a combination because you've identified them. I guess it's just so hard. I guess the biggest thing is just getting to the meat and matter and people willing to spend quality time. That's the frustrator for me.
Yeah, so you have to get the dates, and you have to be able to meet somebody who's willing to have the conversations with you and spend the time with you and develop the relationship with you. And we all have things that we still need to work on. We're all a work in progress, hopefully.
Yeah.
I think that it's not about being all cooked, all there, because everybody should be working on their stuff, and you're going to make mistakes and you're going to piss people off and all the things. And being in a relationship is a mirror to all the stuff we still need to work on. I mean, that's the beauty of it, because you can work on all this stuff by reading a ton of books and working on yourself. But until you're actually face to face with somebody and vulnerable, you don't get challenged as much.
Yeah.
But with the right partner, they're going to support you through that. I mean, you can talk about anything with the right people.
Sandy, I guess I have a question. It's hard for me to tell sometimes, like if like I don't know when to necessarily ask and the questions and what questions to ask in what stage of the dating process. So like the last guy I dated, I told him pretty early on, like maybe like a month and a half, 2 months in, that I wanted to be exclusive, and um maybe I didn't say it the right way, but he was exclusive, but in his head it was a casual exclusiveness. That's what he told me. I don't really understand that, but that's what was in his head apparently. So I ended it very recently, but I didn't, so it was a total of 4 months. So I don't know, like, should I have done something in between? Like, it's just so like hard for me to understand when to bring those things up.
So I don't think it's about the timing of it. I think it's about the clarity of it. Because from what you shared, your understanding of exclusivity was very different from his. So when I coach a client and they talk about exclusivity, they have to be really clear. So what that looks like to me is we close our apps, we are only seeing each other. We have STD testing, we do this, and this. Like you have to be very specific. And if you're not, then somebody's got their own mind. Like exclusive just means I'm seeing you, but I'm still in the apps looking for somebody else. It's like that sounds like that's what happened.
No, I don't think he was looking for anyone else. I think he closed his app
Yeah, so what was
because
he
he
doing?
told me he just didn't want it to be serious.
Okay.
But to me, exclusive meant on the road to being a serious relationship. And
Okay.
that wasn't what was the case for him.
So when I asked this guy to be exclusive with me, I basically said, I am really enjoying getting to know you, and I don't want to date anybody else. I'd like to just concentrate on dating you for now to see where it goes. That was really what I wanted because you don't know. You don't know where it's going to go until you focus on somebody. So then when you're exclusive, you can see, is this person escalating the intimacy of the relationship? Are you escalating the intimacy? Are you asking harder questions? Are you finding out if this person has what it takes to go the long run? That's all you can know. So I don't think you did anything wrong. I think you just have to know for yourself that even though you would like it to be serious, you don't know until you know, until you really know a person. And so you both might have had the same intention, but it ended differently.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Anybody else have questions, comments? Lisa, you can unmute yourself.
Can you get STD testing?
How do you get us?
Yeah.
Oh, you go to your doctor or go to Planned Parenthood or a clinic and any lab. If you get a script for it, you can get blood work done and get a full panel. And if you're seeing somebody, you can go together. It could be a nice date.
And what happens if they say no, thank you?
And then you say, we're not sleeping together.
Okay.
I mean, you have to know your standards. Again, the must-haves, like the standards of what you need. I know you're new to this, Lisa, but
I
uh,
know. It's about 28 years old, and I don't know.
yeah,
I'm a different person.
yeah. Yeah, it's a whole new world, but I think that it's important to know, like, I don't want to sleep with somebody who hasn't been tested because I don't want to get a disease.
Yeah,
So, what do you need? I mean, these are the things that we would review if we work together. What do you need in order to be exclusive?
it's very helpful. I appreciate it.
Sure, no problem. Good luck out there. Koki, you have your hand raised.
I'm dating a man who is active. He walks, a lot, and we walk together. He's generally healthy, but he doesn't really work out. What I consider working out. At age 71, I know how important it is to do weight training along with cardiovascular exercise. So fitness and health is like really one of my highest values.
Mhm.
And I really want to be with a man who is fit, partly because at this stage of life, I know our health can go downward quickly. And so he's very nice. I mean, this is one reason. There's a couple other things too. I enjoy being with him, but I decided to just be friends. And the fitness level is one of the reasons I didn't mention to him. I did mention a couple other things where I just didn't think we were fully aligned, even though we enjoy each other's company. And I just wondered your thoughts, if you think, yeah, what do you think about the way I'm approaching this? I'd appreciate hearing it.
Sure. So again, your must-have list is really important. And if fitness and health is important to you and it's at the top of your list, then it's a good reason to not be with that person. But I would say that if somebody had like all the must-haves and really you got along beautifully and you were able to talk things out and you had flow in your conversation and you had so much fun and laughed together, it's not so common to find those things. And some people with some encouragement do get more physically active. If you said to him, if everything else was perfect, like or aligned, and you said, I really, physical fitness is really important to me. Is this something that you'd be open to doing with me more? Or, going to the gym, and because I really care about your health and your well-being. And then you would see what he says and what he does, more importantly. I know people who have married people who had different levels of fitness, and they were in their 70s. And then he joined a gym. He's significantly overweight, but there's so many other things that are wonderful about the relationship that it works. So you have to pick your battles in any relationship and know what's a deal breaker and what's not.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think that's the hard part, is trying to discern. I mean, it's, there's some other things like English is his second language. So even though he speaks the language well, sometimes I'm not understanding what he says. So, there are a few things like with the communication and the culture and then this. So I started adding up the things and I thought, oh, I see him maybe more as a friend. But with that said, he's so very easy to be with.
Mhm.
And so I thought, well, maybe just continue the friendship. And at some point, if something shifts,
Right.
that would be okay.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that if you're not turned off by this person and you can imagine kissing them and you have a good relationship in many ways, it's worth exploring what what a relationship would look like with that person. But again, I don't know you and I don't know him, and I can't weigh in on what's really working, but sometimes we overanalyze and we think with our head instead of our heart, or we don't know how to balance both. And both are important. And you have to realize there's always going to be something that you're not going to get along on. Lisa, you were married for a long time. I'm sure there were issues that were not resolvable. And that's what relationships are. That's not a reason to leave somebody unless it's hurtful and harmful. And so part of what brings us together with people is the differences that we have. And that's important too. It's important to have somebody who does things completely differently. I dated a guy a number of years ago who's now with somebody who's perfect for him. I could never be with him. I tried. It wasn't working for me for a number of reasons. We stayed friends, and he met somebody who's like almost the polar opposite of who he is. He is very into linear thinking and spreadsheets and all that stuff. And she's like into crystals and yoga and Tai Chi and natural medicine. And the thing that ties them together is the fact that he is open-minded. He has tried the crystals, he has tried the herbs, he has tried Tai Chi, he has gone to her crystal events and all of her things. And she also has a job that she works in special ed and has sort of that groundedness too. But he has this playfulness to him. So when you look at them on the outside, you think, how could they ever be together? He is so rigid and she is so, flexible. He's so neat. She's so messy. But that's why they care about each other. They bring out qualities in each other that really complements. And so you can look on paper and say, no way. You could say that also about somebody who looks perfect on paper, and there's absolutely no way they would be together because it doesn't work. So it's a complex thing. It's really how two people show up together and what you're willing to compromise on and what you're not. And that's one of the things that I'll be working on in the Broken Picker workshop. So
Thank you.
you're
I
welcome.
appreciate
Good
that.
luck. All right. Well, I am going to end because we are at the top of the hour. Thank you so much for joining me. And I hope some of you sign up for the workshop. I would love to work with you privately. And there are many other ways to be in touch. So if that workshop doesn't work out, there are lots of other ways we could work together. So feel free to send me an email. And thank you so much. Have a good night, everybody.